Global besties, welcome to 1,000 Miles Pod. You belong here. That feels so good, guys. Well, let's jump into it. Global besties, welcome back to 1,000 Miles Pod. This is our 4th episode, and we are so stoked to be here. We are recording from 5,300 miles apart today. Maddie, I am in Winter Park, Colorado on a brand deal. We head back to Hawaii tomorrow, but Ben and Ty, where are you guys?
Ben? Not here.
Ben just got way better looking.
Yeah.
I am wearing Ben's clothes.
Ben is. Yeah. That's
Same.
Used to be.
We are wearing Ben's clothes.
That's amazing. Tyler and Nikki, where are you guys today?
We're still in Guernsey.
We are both in Guernsey.
Haven't left.
I mean,
love
I
it.
live here, so I've got an excuse, but we're going to keep hold of Nikki as long as we can.
This is my home now.
She lives
Find
there.
somebody to be obsessed with me and I'll never leave.
Yeah, that's amazing. I am absolutely stoked for today's episode because we are going to be talking about our journey as content creators, but before, if you have no interest or desire to listen to that, just hang on, because I think why I'm excited about today's episode is because today is really a conversation about courage and about vulnerable moments and about big decisions. And it happens to be about content creation and the career path that we've all chosen and the nuances there. But, I know for me, there are a lot of really vulnerable, difficult situations that led me into this. And I know Nikki and Ty, you guys have your own story with content creation. So today is an episode where we're going to be talking about courageous decisions, vulnerable moments, and stepping out in faith and self-belief, and sometimes even in panic, but doing the dang thing. So let's just jump into it.
Let's go!
So, how do we even define content creators? Some of our global besties listening are going to be content creators, going to be familiar with that term, but which one of us wants to tackle defining content creation for the rest of us?
I feel like I can get kind of heated about this.
I feel like you have been in the game for the longest, and I feel like it's only right that you tackle this one, Nikki.
Okay. So, wow. How do I even start with this? Content creation. If you're just going to define the term content creator, that's not somebody who has 1 million followers. It's not somebody who has 1,000 followers. It can be both. You can't look at one or the other and say definitively they are one. But as somebody who comes from a photography background, we talk about more of that later, but there are different ways to become a content creator. And there are influencers. There are also influencers who are content creators. It's anyone who can create for social platforms for the use of our modern day world, essentially, to speak to a product, an experience, their lifestyle, any kind of anything that there's a corner of on the internet. If you can create content that speaks to people, you are a content creator. That doesn't mean that you have the most impeccable lighting setup or that you're shooting with a camera that's $10,000. It's, in my brain, your ability to create something that is relatable to other people and share it on the internet.
It's a very
Absolutely.
new industry, so it's kind of hard to define, and I think a lot of people will think of content creator and instantly think influencer, but like Nikki said, they're not two of the same. They are very different. And people can be content creators without a following at all, but they may create content for brands or businesses. And yeah, I think it's a funny line to kind of draw, and there is a lot of stigma around the word influencer, but I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, I always think, when people ask what I do, I always say I run a micro marketing firm, because that really is what it is.
That.
I run a micro marketing firm that specializes in the travel industry. And what is not true about that? It is absolutely true. We run sales, we run marketing, we run advertising, we run, story development, all of it. And I think content creators are professional storytellers. And that at the core is what all three of us do in very different ways, which is super cool. But yeah, content creation and influencing, not the same thing. There's influencers who are content creators. There's content creators who are influencers and are not influencers. It's kind of runs the gamut. So,
and there are professional photographers who are content creators. There are professional videographers who are content creators. There are professional photographers who are influencers. It all intertwines in layers, and that's kind of what makes this industry a little bit complicated and really hard to define for the masses.
Yeah, I think, and this isn't an exact definition. I don't even know if you guys would agree with this. It is nuanced. If you're not in the field, it might be hard to kind of differentiate. Where I would differentiate between influencers and content creators is influencers are professionals at telling their story, and content creators are professionals at telling other stories, their own story, and also stories for brands.
A story.
Yeah, yeah, just a story. So both are fantastic. Both have their place, but I think all three of us would agree that we are definitely in the camp of content creation first. Maybe occasionally we're kind of overlap into the influencing world, but really content creators at our core.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
100%.
So how the heck did we all get here? Because it is crazy. This job, this life is crazy. So let's just dive into how we got here. Nikki, let's start with you.
I was going to say you should start on this one. I think.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can start. So absolutely nothing in my life makes sense about why I'm here, except for the fact that it kind of does. I mentioned that, my story in particular is kind of laced with a major life event. So rewinding though, my undergrad degree is in political science, international relations. Again, if you listen to last episode, I've always been obsessed with the world and just like, I want to understand how it works. I want to understand how, cultures work. And so that's what led me into that. And then a long story short, I ended up several years later going back to get my master's in clinical mental health counseling with an emphasis in sports counseling. I was an athlete. I played volleyball for 18 years up through college. And that's kind of, as passionate as I am about travel, it's kind of this dual passion that we haven't really addressed. But so prior to starting the Travel Mentors, was working full-time in my own private practice called Victory Sports Counseling. Shout out. I'm on sabbatical from it right now, so it's not up and running. But so I'm a therapist by trade, and I love it. I was getting burnt out for a lot of different reasons, but I do love it. So how the heck did I get here? Well, Patrick and I have been traveling, travel's interwoven in our whole relationship. We met through travel. It's been a huge part of our lives. And we were posting, as so many content creators kind of start out, we were just posting travel stuff on our personal private Instagram, which I have not even posted. I looked yesterday. The last time I posted on my private Instagram was at the Olympics last summer. So it was over a year ago, which is crazy. I'm like chronically offline on my personal Instagram.
Same.
But we were posting
about to make a fake one.
Yeah. We were posting about our travels there, and I just was like, I don't want to spam people. I don't know. I don't want to I don't know. I just didn't feel like the right context for posting the way that we wanted to post. And a catalyst for us for thinking about this is so Patrick has a younger brother. His name is Miles. And Miles at the time, him and his wife, Emily, were both 26, and they'd been married for about 4 years. And Emily, in 2022, was diagnosed with brain cancer in January. And she passed in October of 2022. So she passed 10 months later. And our lives just stopped during that time. It was, we can circle back to that story another day, but that was, as you can imagine, an unbelievable fundamental shift for us. Watching our 26-year-old sister-in-law pass away and having the conversations with her as she was, sick and as she was dying about her bucket list and these things that she wanted to do. And just those conversations were very kind of life-altering for us, just realizing it doesn't matter, and not in a cynical way, but in a way of why not just go for it? Just do it. Just literally do it. Because the worst thing that happens is that you try it and you realize, oh, never mind, I don't want to do that. But the best thing that happens is you step out in faith and courage and just fear even, and you do something that you're super passionate about. And so Emily passed away in October of 2022, and we, we're just, understandably for the next kind of 6 months or so, really processing a lot. I think we processed a lot as she was sick, and, unfortunately knew that she had, glioblastoma, the highest grade, and there's not really a lot of hope there for that. So we kind of knew early on that maybe she wasn't going to be around, or, we didn't know the timeline, but we figured that it was not going to be a good outcome. So we had processed a lot while she was sick, and then we're kind of just, after she had passed, processing a lot about life. It sounds cliche to be like death is clarifying, but death is clarifying. And one of the things in those kind of 6 months between her passing and us starting the Travel Mentors was just, that idea of, why not just go for it? Fear is the dumbest thing ever. Fear literally makes you waste your life when you could be doing incredible things, or doing things that aren't incredible, that you do fail at. But fear just literally makes you waste your life. It adds nothing of value to the situation, unless you're being chased by a bear. It's a protective mechanism, but it adds absolutely nothing. So, about 6 months later in April, we just were like, you know what? We're just going to do the dang thing. We had literally no idea. I had never made a reel before. I had made like a video. I kind of made a video on like GarageBand, but never like a reel. I didn't know what CapCut was. Like, I had no idea what we were doing, but we had the audacity to literally just put a picture of us up and reserve a handle and put a picture of us up and just say, we're the Travel Mentors now, I guess. So here we go. So we started the Travel Mentors on April 2nd, 2023. And it has been quite literally the biggest roller coaster of our lives since then, in a good way. I've met the most precious people in my life through this, aka Nikki and Tyler. We wouldn't be here without all of this. But
Hi.
Yeah, that's kind of the short and condensed version. But the journey into content creation, what's crazy is when we started the Travel Mentors, I don't even think I would have said, oh, we're going to become content creators. I don't even think I knew that phrase. It wasn't until, we dove hard into it. So it was probably within the first month or so where we were like, oh, are we content creators? We are. Oh my gosh. And we just dove really hard into it. For me, coming out of, the year that we had in 2022, the just immense grief, the chaos, Patrick, we were living in Arizona. Patrick basically lived in Cincinnati, Ohio, across the country for a couple months during that. Like, it was logistically chaotic and emotionally chaotic. And I was super burnt out. I was holding down my therapy practice in the meantime, which was crazy. And I needed a creative outlet. So that's also part of why we dove so hard into it. And I'm glad that we just committed. We literally were like, we're doing it. This is what we do now. Like, we have one post up, but this is what we do.
Yeah. How long had you been posting when you messaged me for the first time? I'm literally sitting here trying to do math backwards about, like, when did I move to Phoenix?
Yeah. Well, when did you move to Phoenix?
I think it was 2023.
It must have been that summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. We just had, I don't know what 2023 Maddie and Patrick were on, but we had this like unbelievable audacity to just like message brand, like some of the biggest brands in the world. We had like 500 followers and we were like, want to work with us? Or like friends, like you had like 100,000 followers and I was like, we're gonna be friends. I know it's gonna happen. She's gonna we just,
I was just saying that to her. We were talking about it the other day, like because I don't think we covered that in the episode where we were like, oh, we all knew each other. Like, we kind of talked about how you and I had started like becoming friends and like you being like, oh yeah, you're gonna be my friend. But I don't think we really covered the like
logistics of how it happened.
Yeah. And so like you're telling this and I'm like, how far along were you in it? And I'm just in there like spitting a bunch of shit to you in that first, like the only in-person interaction that we had, and was like, just do the, and I'm like, how much terminology did you know? Like, how much was I just spitting out that you like Googled? Like I'm, you know.
Do you know what? It's really nice. We had this conversation last night actually, and Nikki was like, when Maddie messaged me, I could tell she was coming from such an authentic place. Like, she just wanted to meet and have a chat and be my friend. Like, there was no ulterior motive or anything. Like Maddie just said, Nikki had, what, like 100,000 followers at that point? And I'm sure there are people who were trying to squeeze information out of you or, you know, befriend you for ulterior motives. But she could see so clearly that when you had messaged, it was out of such genuine just want for friendship.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I could obviously look at your page and tell, like, you were pursuing content creation, like, to some degree. Like, you were using the platform in a way a content creator does. Like, you were posting consistently. You were like, I could see that. So I was like, okay, she's doing that. But I didn't realize how fresh you were into it, I guess.
Yeah. I think one of the things that made me psychotically be like, oh, Nikki's going to be one of my best friends, I think, is it was around the time where you were posting or creating your like bucket list for the things you wanted to do before you turned 30. And there were so many things on there where I was like, oh yeah, we're going to be friends. Like, this is great. And, you know, seriously though, part of the reason that the three of us started this podcast was to talk about adult friendship, because adult friendship, let alone long distance friendship, is really hard. Mm-hmm. And I was like, we need friends. Like, we just went through the worst thing we've ever been through. Like, we had sweet friends in Phoenix, but you know me, I'm like, I always want more friends. Like, I just love people and I want to get to know people. So when I found out you were living in Phoenix, or however that worked, I just remember being like, I think we're going to be friends. Like, I know I sound crazy and we could both be serial killers. Well, I knew I wasn't, but I was like, you know, you could think I am and you might be, but I think we're going to be besties. So
you
I think I messaged
on a hike,
you.
So that was an interesting choice.
Well, so what happened was, I think I initially messaged you about climbing 4 peaks.
Yes.
And for like a year, we went back and forth. And then we ended up not being able to do it because I injured my knee and had to have surgery. Like, it was like we had talked about it in the summer of 23, and then I had surgery March of 24. So for like 8 or 9 months, I was like, we should do this. And I think we even had a date planned. And I was like, Nikki, I can't. And I'm sure she was like, who is this girl that reached out to me to ask to hike? And then was like, never mind.
Well, and like, it was this huge battle because it's so flippin' hot in Phoenix in the summer that it was like, we were like, yeah, let's go for a hike. But if we don't start the hike at like 2 a.m. before the second week of June, we're going to die out there. And so it was like this whole thing. And I like, you know, I was even trying to get Chas in on it. And then Chas was like, and then like the dates got pushed and she was like, I'm not hiking at that time of year. And like, it was this whole thing. And then before I knew it, it was like, she's having a knee surgery. And then I was like leaving Phoenix and was like, okay, well, I have 2 hours. You want to go to this lake?
Yeah.
And
so we settled on a lake. And then I was like, okay, well, the next step clearly is that we travel around Italy together for 3 weeks.
Yeah, clearly. Like, duh.
Yeah, so that is something I'm really proud of, though, looking back on our start into content creation, is we committed so hard. From April 2nd, 2023 until literally, we're recording this on a Tuesday, until this past weekend, so 3 days ago. So for the last almost 2.5 years, I've posted 6 days a week. That's just so from the day we started. I'm not saying everyone needs to do that, but I just this past weekend I went down to, you know, posting 5 days a week. But we committed so hard, and there was a lot of vulnerability in that. I think I did post on my personal Instagram, hey, we're starting this new travel page. And I think we had 100 people come and follow us, like friends and family, which at the time I was like, okay, this is cool. But looking back, I'm like, that's not that many people. Like, we maybe had 100 people built in at the beginning, but we were just like, okay, our goal literally at the end of year 1 was to have 1,000 followers. We had no context for what this is going to look like. And I think we, at our 1 year mark, hit like 40,000 followers. Like, it was a little disorienting, and we worked really hard, but I also think there's a lot of magic. There's content creators that work really hard and it doesn't necessarily click, So I don't want to just lie and be like, oh, it's just hard work. I do think there's some magic and some luck with it too. So I think we had this combination of that, but it took off and we were like, oh my gosh, I feel like we have a tiger by the tail. Like, we got to regroup and figure out what we're really doing with this. Because I was spending 25 hours a week for that first year on the travel mentors anyway. And it was like, okay, what are we doing with this?
And I think it is worth noting that the travel mentors now have over 200,000 followers on Instagram. That is a huge achievement in such a small amount of time, and you should be so proud of yourselves.
Yeah, that's incredible.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it feels surreal. We just hit the 2,000 or 200,000 mark. See, I'm like 2,000 people. We just hit the 200,000 mark, in the last week or so, and it still feels really surreal. I don't know. There are days where I'm like, why us? Like, I don't know. I look at my friends who are unbelievably talented, and for whatever reason, it just, call it timing with us randomly choosing the destinations that were happen to be popping off or whatever. But yeah, it has snowballed greatly into now what is my full-time job, which is really crazy. I've been full-time with the Travel Mentor since January, so about 8 months. And it's been a rodeo.
Maddie is being extremely humble here because her content is, well, both yours and Patrick's obviously content is amazing. Like, you're so informative and you can feel your energy coming through the screen. So don't discredit yourself, because you definitely deserve to have that community that you've built.
Yeah, and I think I also wanted to touch on, I agree wholeheartedly with what Ty is saying, but I also wanted to touch on what you were saying about the kind of why me. I don't, it's like you were saying, there's magic involved in it, but it is why are there 200,000 people that have chosen to follow me? And we were talking about it the other night, and I think that humbleness is what keeps the world going round in our industry. Is I think as soon as people kind of start to let those things go to their head is when things start to kind of crash and burn on an individual level, but then also that translates into what the public views our job as, unfortunately. But I told her every time I went to a Taylor Swift concert last year, I stopped and turned around and said, there are more people, detached myself from what was happening in that arena and just went, there are more people that follow me online than can fit in this stadium. And that's a really grounding and humbling thing to be I'm here in this room with all of these people who have individual lives, and they're there for Taylor Swift, but in my world outside of it, there are people who care and are living their own lives. And staying humble and staying true to your why you started content creation is how I think we keep thriving in the industry. I guess even what is your why? Because I think that's a huge part of sharing your life online is why do you start it? Because ultimately that's what keeps you going.
Yeah, and our why, I don't want to sound like we just nilly-willy one day. That's I don't know if people still use that phrase, nilly-willy. But just nilly-willy, nonchalant started this. We were really intentional. I mean, for a couple weeks we went back and forth on what do we call ourselves? What's important to us? We settled on the name The Travel Mentors because we love the idea of mentorship, of being mentored ourselves and also mentoring others. That's how the world goes around. We need people to learn from, and we also are believers that once you have information, there's a sense of responsibility to teach it to people who don't. And I know it's in the travel space, but that's what we felt passionate about. Was this is what we say this to brands, and when we talk with brands, but in behind the scenes, this is what we always say. Our goal is to make the inaccessible feel accessible. Mm-hmm. That's why we do crazy detailed itineraries, literally find this sign at this airport and go get on this train, and when you get off, look for this sign, because it's dude, international travel can be so intimidating and it can feel inaccessible, and we want people, like a mentor should, hopefully, to feel empowered of sweet, I did it, I can do this now. And so that's our why. We have kind of the deeper emotional, why of watching Emily pass away, and what was so formative about that is just do it. Like, just do it. Literally, whatever you're afraid to do, just do it, because you will be so proud of yourself no matter how it happened, like no matter what happens at the end of the day. And so, you know, our why is really tied into those very formative experiences of grief and of death, and emerging out of that and saying, you know, we've been really privileged. It goes back to that privilege conversation that we were talking about in our last episode, and just being like, I think where privilege goes wrong is when you keep it to yourself. And we feel incredibly privileged. Like, let's just put this out here so that hopefully other people can feel passionate and feel empowered and feel courageous to get on a plane and go somewhere that terrifies them.
I love that. I think that encapsulates who yourself and Patrick are as people as well. The Travel Mentors was the perfect handle for you to choose, and it can, like, your brand is who you are as people. I think it's incredible. But like, we always talk about sort of the why behind it, but also like, why not?
Yeah.
There are so many people who won't follow their dreams, or maybe if it is posting on social media or doing whatever they want to do because they're worried about other people's thoughts of them or their opinions.
They're worried about being perceived.
Absolutely. And I think this is something that, this is certainly something that changes as you get older. I think you care less about what other people think of you, and you do realize that life is short and it can be taken at any time. And if you always live your life not doing what you want to do and constantly thinking, oh, I should have, then you're not going to live a fulfilled life.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. We were also turning 30 the year that Emily passed away. We were turning 30. And I think just naturally reflecting on that too. And it's interesting because I would say that the biggest change between my 20s and 30s is that I just don't care. I mean, I do care, and I have to battle that. Like, I'm just a girl. I have to battle comparison and that stuff too. But like, I am just like, someone else's opinion of me is none of my business. Like, I'm just going to live my life and
it 100% says more about them than you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, and it's not like we had a lot of haters or anything, but it kind of was like you said, Ty, why not? Literally, why not? We could always delete the account.
Yeah.
Don't you dare.
Bye. But, you know, don't do
we
that.
definitely won't. But
no, you're right.
Yeah, so I'm super passionate about it because, again, it's not just we want to be influencers, we want to be content creators. We kind of, I don't know, just quote unquote stumbled into it, but I know that there was nothing random about it. Like, I look at our lives and just look at all of our paths and know that it was 100% what we were supposed to be doing, certainly for this chapter of our lives, and that everything leading up to it was like exactly as it should have been. So we feel pretty stoked about continuing to build this community in whatever kind of version that looks like, including this podcast. This is kind of an extension of all three of our communities, which I'm obsessed with.
Yeah, I love it. It truly shows like all of that love and passion and everything like in what you share. So
yeah, I appreciate it. Ty or Nikki, who wants to go next?
I'm really loving hearing your journey, and if you don't mind, I would love for this to be an episode in itself. One also that I'd really like to dedicate to Emily as well.
Yeah.
Because I feel like she is at the age that we kind of were, you know, a few years ago, and hopefully the age that a lot of our besties are, like our global besties listening. I would love to sort of dedicate this one to her and your family and everything. So
yeah. Oh,
but
that's gonna make me cry. I really
no, stop, because I will
really,
also cry.
Like we can't start crying.
But
no, yeah.
I mean, we can. I'm not saying don't have emotions, but
yeah.
But like,
no, that's really sweet, Ty. I appreciate that.
I think whilst we're on the roll talking about the travel mentors, like I would love to know what you guys sort of see for your future, or whether you're sort of just rolling with the punches, seeing how it goes, or even, I mean, I'm throwing loads of questions at you now, but like, how did it feel stepping back from your full-time job as a therapist to, I mean, it's a huge, courageous leap to take on social media full-time. How did that feel?
It felt crazy, if I'm being honest. It was weird. It was this dichotomy where it felt insane, but I had total peace about it. And some of that's just the circumstances of moving out to Hawaii and like state licensure laws and like the nitty gritty kind of legal stuff with being a therapist across state lines. So it was we kind of knew like it was about to be push comes to shove. Like I either needed to step away from travel mentors, not permanently, but like maybe hire someone else on, or like I needed to either take a major step back from travel mentors in order to be just on my clients in therapy. It's a very demanding job emotionally where you can't really come in with a split brain that day. Like you have to be all in. Or I needed to take a step away from therapy, and that felt like the right move for several different reasons. There were logistical reasons behind that with our move to Hawaii, although we could have figured something out with that if I really wanted to have, kept seeing clients, but that was the right move. I felt total peace about it. And what the crazy part about it is we were not making enough money, arguably still not, to like replace my salary as a therapist. So that's what felt so crazy about it. Patrick and I were looking at it ourselves last year. We were 32. We owned a home. We had great jobs. We didn't really have to think about finances. It's not like we're millionaires by any stretch of the imagination, but it was like we could buy organic groceries once a month and not think twice about it. You were comfortable. Yeah, I was comfortable. Life, yeah, that's exactly, you nailed it. We were comfortable. And I feel like I'm allergic to comfortability. There's a little bit of me that's like, one of my greatest fears is just staying stagnant. I don't want to stay stagnant. And
relatable.
It is, yeah, it's a little crazy that Patrick and I, we say we blew up our lives. He left his corporate job. Like, we took a massive pay cut. We sold our house. Like, we moved to an island where things are like insanely expensive. Like, milk is $12. Like, it was like, what are we doing? We're doing everything wrong in the world's eyes. Like, we are doing everything backwards. We're selling our house. We're leaving these like great jobs that we were established in, but it was just so unbelievably evident that all of that was supposed to happen for us. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what we were supposed to do. And so I think that peace really rooted us through like the chaos, like the logistical mm-hmm. chaos of everything. So I don't know, it's been kind of to answer your question of what was it like to leave that, it was scary. It was really scary. I think when I started full-time with Travel Mentors, I wrapped up seeing clients in December, and then we moved to Hawaii like the first week of January 2025 this year. And I remember being like wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, like this, like we're going to build an empire, like global domination. And I remember by February being like paralyzed of just, I can do everything and anything. Like when we think about content creation, think about running a micro marketing firm. Again, we are talking, you're doing everything. You are the CEO, you're the administrative assistant, you are the, videographer, photographer, you're the editor, you're
customer service,
customer service, your brand management, like you are sales, your marketing, you are everything. And that was really paralyzing. So it was a massive shift, a massive learning curve for me. And I think I'm still in that learning curve, but I think it's tapered off. It feels more manageable. But I'm also really thankful for it because it has pushed me in ways this year that I really needed to mm-hmm. not be stagnant. And especially as a woman in business, like my eyes have been opened, I think, a lot more to like just interesting dynamics of like women in business and how amazing it is to have women business owners, and also very real challenges and like very real just dynamics there. And I don't know, it's been so, I feel like my goal has just been to have like an open mind, an open heart this year of like, I'm just going to learn, we're just going to figure it out. And 2025 is about learning how to run this type of business. I was running a private practice, a therapy practice, but that was so different. I had like one job. It was to show up, care for people, and like send some emails and run billing. Like it was not that hard logistically. It was a lot emotionally, but it's not hard logistically to be a therapist. Or at least in my experience.
I think that's something, I mean, obviously job by job, as you just said, but mm-hmm. I think that's something that speaks to content creation and like moving from maybe a 9 to 5 or something that's a little bit easier or whatever. Like it's basically the comparison that I'm trying to make, I'm not trying to like insult anybody. I never want anybody to feel like their life choices or their careers are better or less than what we do. But I think in my transition, even like there's glass ceilings in most places that we've all worked, right? Like you can only go so high. And then when you get into this like micro marketing firm and you're wearing all of the hats, you go, holy shit, there is no ceiling. I could literally ride this in a million different directions, or I could tell myself like, if I get here, this is where I'm at because I'm capped. Like it's endless. The possibilities are a little crazy. And then once you're sitting in it, you're like, how do I do it all?
Yeah.
Whether your ideas are far out there and you're even thinking 6 months in advance or not, or you're just thinking like, how do I get through the next month doing it all?
Yeah, I completely agree. And like, I don't want to be one of those people that's like, it's a hard job. But like, there is a lot more that goes on behind the scenes than I think a lot of people who perhaps consume content but don't create it don't get to see. And I think going from a job that potentially has, you know, a stable income and a bit of security into a more creative field like content creation, it is very courageous, which takes us back to the whole reason that we're doing this episode, because taking these huge leaps, they are a part of growing up, but they're also a part of how it shapes your whole life.
Yeah. No, it's been really interesting. You know, I went from, you know, in theory, one of the harder jobs that you can have as a human emotionally. You know, it's not like I'm an ER doctor who's, you know, literally has life and death in my hands, or a first responder, but, you know, I've dealt with life and death situations, and those have been a little bit fewer and far between than like a first responder or something. But, you know, being a therapist is it consumes just your emotions, and you have to be protective of your emotions in a really different way. So that's been a really interesting flip, is like, there were things about that were so hard. And then I flipped to this job where it's like, emotionally, this job is as fun as you want it to be. Like, it is like, you can have the best days of your life, like the most incredible highs. If you have a video go to 10 million, you better believe you are on a high, like, let's get ice cream, like, let's do this.
Yeah.
And then it's like, immediately, an hour later, you get rejected by a brand. And I think in therapy, I knew how to protect my emotions. I had been trained in that in grad school. I had practiced it. Like, I was really secure with my boundaries. I was pretty good about separating out like what I needed to separate out. And then this job, where you are having the biggest swings in emotions in the comfort of your own home, where you don't have the separation of an office, you just are trying to figure all this out. You don't have a set schedule. You're technically always on the clock, which means you're never on the clock. Like, that's, I think, what was such a massive shift. I was like, I'm a therapist. I should be able to handle this anxiety and stress and imposter syndrome. But until you're in it, there's nothing that can prepare you for the emotional roller coaster of what content creation is like.
I'm so happy you brought that up. I feel like it's so hard to explain. I'm sitting here going like, how do we tell them more about what it's like to be a content creator? Because I feel like I always hear people saying like, it's so much harder than it looks. And like, of course we're diving into like, you wear all these hats and stuff, but it is like, because it's depending on what you're creating and your audience, and like, there's so many nuances to it. There's so many different little pathways you can be affected. And like, everybody is affected so differently. That it's like, you know, I haven't had a 10 million viral video in like years, but like Maddie and I are still doing the same job. We're all still doing the same job, you know, like, and we're all still going, ooh, we're playing the comparison game. But then we all still have to send pitches. And then like, where maybe Maddie's not playing, like, she has the 10 million views videos, but like, we're still like, did we make money this month? Like,
I know, yeah. It's like such a bizarre dichotomy.
Yeah.
Especially being a new industry, I think a lot of people are still just trying to figure it out.
Yeah. No, it is. I think what's so if I had to sum it up, it's unpredictable. And there were elements of being a therapist that were unpredictable, but it was kind of like contained unpredictability, because I would know, okay, I have a session from 10 a.m. to 10:50 a.m. And I know that in that session, anything could happen, and literally anything. Like, I've had just the most insane 50-minute periods of my life in counseling sessions. But it was also like the boundary of, I know when it starts and I know when it ends, and I know what I need to do at the end of the day when I walk out of my office and drive home to come down from that. Like,
yeah.
Where content creation, it's not only is what happens unpredictable, but the timing in which it happens is unpredictable. You can wake up to an email at 7 a.m. that,
changes
getting
your life
crushed
or
by your
destroys
dream
it.
brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you can open Instagram the next morning and be like, oh my gosh, this video went viral overnight. Like, what in the world? And there's not necessarily a rhyme or reason to it either. So I think that's what, if I had to kind of say, like, one thing is, what you see on the outside with content creation is typically just the tip of the iceberg, because underneath is this insane unpredictability that we all are a little crazy for signing up for. We are. We're like a little bit crazy for being like, let's do this. But I think that's where the courage comes in. I mean, I know both of you guys have made incredibly courageous steps to be where you're at too, and I know we'll get into that in like your solo ups, I guess. But yeah, it's a really, really, really vulnerable industry.
Yeah. And I think you're very right in saying that it's like just the tip of the iceberg, because it is like, I'm like trying to like piece it together in a way that like makes sense and I can articulate to people who have like no idea what it's like to be on the other side of it. But it is like, we're kind of talking like the business side of things, like it's the tip of the iceberg, but then also like that tip of the iceberg is like public view. Like,
yeah.
So you're just like sitting in a stadium on the top of this like iceberg, and the whole rest of your world is beneath the surface, but the only thing people can see is what's happening on the top. So like, not only is it like on the surface we're saying like, hey, here's all these things and like this unpredictability, but like all of that unpredictability is like under public view, which like is part of the job, but like you also never know when somebody's gonna be like, hey, that was not it, or like, now all of a sudden I hate you for this, and you're like, what do you mean? I pet a dog. Like like it's so incredibly unpredictable in also the public eye, which is I mean, obviously we're doing it for a reason, to connect with people and build community, but
I think like obviously Maddie spoke a lot about her why, and I mean, the whole reason for the travel mentors is to help other people. And I think you kind of, in doing so, you do open yourself to public scrutiny. And I speak on behalf of all of us. Like, we are all extremely privileged to have these platforms, and we obviously have worked very hard, but also there is an element of luck, and we love our jobs. So I definitely don't want this to come across as, bitching and moaning, oh, we're so hard done by, because there are way harder jobs in the world. Please don't get it twisted. But I just know that I would love to hear this conversation and, hear the nuances about content creation.
I'm really glad that I've had such like different experiences professionally, because there are days where, when things are tough emotionally in content creation and with travel mentors, where I am able to step back and be like, hey, you're not having to call Child Protective Services today because you found out a kid is being abused. Because that's a situation I've been in a million times. And you're not having to call the hospital because this human in front of you wants to kill themselves, which I've been in countless times. Like, I've, part of my specialization for a while was like dealing with acute suicidality and just like these really high stakes moments. And that work is so important. And I think it's interesting to be on this flip side of like two seemingly totally different careers and be like, both things are important. Both things can be true at the same time. Like, I had a really hard day today because I got rejected by a brand. And also I have the context of, you know what, this could have been harder. For totally different reasons. So I think, Ty, you nailed it, because I think two opposite things can be true, that this is a dream job. and also sometimes the dream's like nightmarish, you know?
Yeah.
Those can be true at the same time.
Absolutely. And like you said, it's all about perspective. And, you know, like, I think whether you are a creator or you just enjoy consuming content, like, please just be conscious of other people's emotions and their feelings, because, you know, like, everyone can, like, we can be sensitive too. And, you know, everybody's feelings are completely valid. But yeah, it's just an interesting conversation to have.
It really is. I mean, there have been, you know, this isn't as common, but this has for sure happened over the last 2.5 years, where I'll just be like sitting on the floor in tears, and I'm like, I'm just a girl. People are so mean. And Patrick's like, he's like hugging me, like, you're gonna be okay. Like, those people are lame. They're just bored with their own lives. And I'm like, nobody wants me. These brands are rejecting me. And it's just like, I don't know. Those things are formative though. Like, it takes courage to just continue to get back up and be like, well, I was crying yesterday because I was rejected by my dream brand, but like, here we go. Let's pitch another dream brand.
Yeah.
You know, it does take like some level of insanity and audacity to kind of do this. And my encouragement, if you're listening and you are in the world of content creation or familiar with it, is keep going. Keep showing up for yourself, because you're going to be so proud of yourself. And I feel like it's an interesting thing saying that, because like, Nikki, you've been in the field longer than I have, you know. But it's like 2.5 years in, I'm like, just keep going. Just keep showing up for yourself. And if you're listening and you are not even remotely in the field of content creation, my encouragement to you is, I know you have a dream because you're human. And my encouragement to you is like, to ask yourself, am I doing anything with that dream? And if not, why am I not doing anything with that dream?
Yeah. And also, like, give yourself permission to, like, be proud of yourself. I think that's, like, something I've struggled with in the past, too, is, like, even on those hard days when I'm, like, I don't have a Patrick to, like, hug me and be like, everything's fine. I'm just, like, on the floor crying by myself. It's, like, I really, really have intentionally spent a lot of time, like, trying to find the grounding in those moments to be, like, be proud of yourself, because even if it feels like absolute shit right now, like, the amount of work that, like, I've done, you've done to get to where we are is, like, that's worth noting and worth being your fuel to, like, keep going. Like, this is an industry that, like, you don't have to pour 110% into it every single day, but if you wake up every single day and you don't want to do anything else, or you're completely happy doing your current routine of things to make it work, the industry will reward you eventually. Like, it's just one of those things that you have to keep pushing, and, like, be proud of yourself for doing it, even if it's just like you got rejected by another brand. At least you tried.
I'm curious for you guys, because I know that I've struggled with this, and I wonder if any of our listeners have too, but what is y'all's relationship as females with that idea of being proud of yourself? Because I feel like that's such a tricky topic. Oh, Ty's like, let me go. But I feel like that's such a interesting dynamic to look at. Yeah, like, what does it mean to be really proud as a female about what you do? You know, what's the line of, like, arrogance and humility, and why as a female am I even, like, pausing? Like, I should just be proud. Like, I don't know, I'm curious what that's been like for you guys.
Let me tell you, if we had the confidence of a straight white man, a mediocre straight white man, the world would be wildly different.
Spitting facts.
Yeah.
I think naturally as women, or maybe I'm just speaking for myself, I'm not sure, but I feel like I am an empath. I always think about other people's feelings, and I feel like I can feel that. So I always do my utmost to put everybody else kind of before myself. And, you know, looking back at in this instance, our creator journey, like, yeah, I am proud of myself. And I try to think of me maybe like 10 years ago, looking at what I'm doing now. I just want to be fucking cool.
Yeah.
I want, like, 19-year-old Tyler to be like, gosh, you really did the damn thing. So, like, when I do have those moments where I'm, like, maybe not prioritizing myself or not feeling proud, I think back to her and I think about how she would look at me. Sometimes you have to take a step out of your own self to kind of reflect.
Yeah, I think that's 100% relatable and exactly how I feel. I still struggle really hard with like recognizing and like you guys are the greatest and constantly like telling me things like you're brave and this, and like I have a really hard time sitting and going like, yeah, I am that. And like that same feeling comes with having pride in myself for what I have accomplished, like because it's the other voices in my head. It's the other people saying like, you should have a house. You should not be living out of a backpack. You should have a husband. You should probably have 3 kids. Like, it's those things that I've never wholeheartedly wanted in a traditional sense that like scream volumes in my head when I'm feeling really down. So then it is hard to hold on to that. Like, it's okay for me to be proud of myself. Like, and it's also hard for me to like hold on to that when like my friends are throwing these words of affirmation at me and I'm like, am I that though? Have I just like, am I just pretending and somehow they fell for it? And then like, I'm literally trying to talk myself out of things that I'm like, but to my core, I think I'm a good person and I've put in work and I've done these things that I'm like, no, I should think that what I've done in my life is something to be proud of.
That imposter syndrome is so real. Like, they're gonna know. They're gonna find out.
Yeah.
Like, they're gonna find out that I'm a fraud. Like, they're gonna find out that it's not real. I think that every time we go through growth spurt on Instagram, I'm like, all these people, if I don't keep posting banger content, they're gonna leave me. Like, they're gonna know. They're gonna know I'm a fraud. They're gonna leave. And it's like so real to just, I don't know, wrestle with that imposter syndrome. And I think one of the hardest things for me, I don't know if you guys resonate with this, but in outside of content creation too, but is to not draw my confidence from external validation and to work on drawing it from internal validation and from my identity and who I am. And that is one of the things that definitely gets thrown for a loop that I don't think I was ready for being full-time. Because I don't know, as a therapist, at the end of the day, I'd be like, well, I think I'm helping people. So, like, even if it was a horrible day, like, I think that was helpful. I don't know. I mean, it's up to the client. But now with this, I think that was one of the things I was wildly unprepared for, was the temptation to just turn your confidence over to the wolves and turn your confidence over to what all the external voices are saying. Like, you're not doing enough, or you're doing too much, or this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen on the internet, or like, you're a narcissist for posting this, or whatever crazy comments we get. But I think that has been really, really refining to like figure out, how do I protect where I'm drawing my confidence from? I don't know. Do you guys resonate with that at all?
Yeah, for sure. I think, like we said earlier, you're kind of putting yourself out there to public scrutiny, and sometimes you can listen to that and you can take that on and then start thinking that about yourself. And I think if our global besties are listening, like, please stay grounded in like who you are. And sometimes it is easy to get lost in that, but try to take a step back. If you don't have a Patrick that is able to cuddle you on the floor,
yeah,
it's easy to get lost in it. And that's not just for content creation, that's with everything.
Life.
In the world. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, try to think of little you, protect little you, and try to speak to yourself the way that you would want someone to speak to your younger self.
Yeah, I think something that I started doing that I think ultimately helped me is like, I mean, we're all taught like, treat others the way that you want to be treated. But I think we lose that, and they're like, oh, is it weird if I like tell my friend I'm proud of them? Like, is that weird? No, it's not fucking weird. I actively recognize that like I have some family trauma of like not being told like, hey, I'm proud of you for like things that, my friends were being told that, oh, like from their family, like, oh, we're proud of you. So, and then that just diminishes further as you become an adult. It like you spend less time around your family, and then like it's like, where are you getting that? And it's like, okay, well, if I'm looking for this external validation, like maybe my friends are too. And if I just start telling my friends I'm proud of them, they don't have to tell me back, but at least if they're feeling that, like as somebody who's like feeling other people's emotions, it's like really easy for me to be like, okay, well, if I can look somebody in the face and tell them something I'm feeling about them, why can't I tell myself? So like, you know, I started telling my friends like all the time, like, I'm really proud of you for doing that. Like, I'm so proud of you for doing that. And then that in turn has kind of made it easier for me to accept different things in my life when I'm trying to have these like real moments with myself. And I'm like, okay, be proud of yourself. It's okay. Like, you're proud of your friends. You can turn that emotion inward. Like, and that's okay. But I think kind of turning that outward helped me turn it inward as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think sort of critiquing yourself is something you kind of have to teach yourself out of, right? Like, I know personally, like, one of my friends, if she ever speaks badly about herself, be it the way that she looks or something, I will say to her, stop talking about my best friend like that.
Yeah.
And it kind of puts it into perspective that, like, she would never speak about anyone else like that. So I'm like, don't ever speak to yourself like that.
It's such a hard balance. I think, to kind of, Nikki, touching on what you were saying, going back to the friendship piece of it, as much as I'm, you know, convinced, like, knowing your worth and like your identity, your internal validation is so important. I also am a big believer that that's a journey for everybody, and there's absolutely a time and a place, an important time and place, a beautiful time and place, when you can't hold and believe those things for yourself, to be surrounded by people who can hold and believe those things for you until you can get there, like until you can catch up. It's like, Nikki, when we're like, we're so proud of you, and you're maybe like, it makes me trust you less, or like, I don't know why, like, I don't know, just know, like, it's okay if you can't get there, like, we'll hold that for you until you can.
You will be my friend, and I will tell you that I'm proud. And you will like it.
We are going to be friends.
Yes, you'll be one of my best friends. You just don't know it yet. I did the same thing to Patrick. You will be my husband, but you don't know it yet. Some might say I'm a mastermind. Some might say that Taylor Swift wrote Mastermind about me, but that's for her and I to know, and for everyone else to figure out.
Mad Swifties in this house. Ty, get on.
Yeah.
I know. I'm probably the only non-Swiftie here right now, but you know, I'm learning.
You are. She did give me a whole breakdown about Easter eggs, about Taylor Swift doing the Super Bowl the other day that I hadn't got to yet, so she's on it.
Listen, one talk of Taylor Swift in this household, and my TikTok algorithm is just feeding it to me. I can't help it.
Yeah, they knew Nikki and I were nearby. I think that we should start giving Ty like book reports. To like, listen to folklore, give us a report. Listen to folklore, give us a report.
It's homework.
Yes.
Yeah. We'll learn more about British history, and you can learn more about yours.
Our entire American history.
Yeah. We'll each learn about the other's royal family.
Yes.
Ours is Travis and Taylor.
Wow, guys, I feel like we have gone on a wild ride this episode.
Yes.
How did we get here?
I have no idea. Story of my life.
I think to kind of conclude it all, we were talking about courage and Maddie's incredible courage, along with Patrick, to, you know, take on the travel mentors and their whole journey with content creation. We've only touched the surface. Like we said, that's all you kind of see. We're hoping we can dig a bit deeper on this podcast and give you a bit more of an insight. But
yeah, if you have any questions, follow us on 1,000 Miles Pod on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. I don't know if it's podcast or pod on YouTube, but we'll sort that out. And rate, review, and subscribe to us on all platforms, and send this to maybe somebody who's a little curious about content creation or just needs a good little hug on friendship.
I know that today we were supposed to touch on all three of our stories with this, and it ended up kind of being a Maddie, you know, travel mentors focused episode. So I'm super stoked to come back at it for the Ty episode and the Nikki episode. So get excited for that.
yeah, and if you're listening, we want to tell you that we are proud of you. If you haven't heard it today, we're proud of you, and you can do hard things. You're braver than you think you are. So you can drop us a DM at 1,000 Miles Pod on Instagram. Tell us something that you're excited to do, whether it's a dream or something courageous that you've done recently. And we hope to see you in the next episode. Remember that you belong here.
I love us.